What if I told you there's a pit of poverty? There's a pit of poverty that we all live in. There's a pit of poverty that is stemmed from early in the Bible. Genesis, when God created the world. When he turned darkness into light. He put the birds in the world. He put the waters. He put fish. Then he put humans. He created Adam and Eve. All the way back in the Bible, there was a pit of the poverty. It's when Eve ate the apple, right? And then they all hid behind the bushes. And that's where you started getting the shame, the guilt, the doubt, the fear, the devaluation. And God says, Adam, where art thou? Whereas Eve and Adam wouldn't come because he was ashamed of what just happened. And that's where poverty was the birthplace. That's where living in shame, guilt, doubt, and fear all rose up. And I can remember even in my childhood, we're all programmed to kind of live in this pit of poverty that happened thousands and thousands of years ago, and even the first chapter of the Bible. It even happened in my own life where I was raised Catholic and I was raised on how to be, but yet my mom, had a fixed income. My dad was a drug addict, and we're sitting here, we're trying to figure out how to live, but there was always, you can't get this because I don't have enough. You can't do this because there's not enough money. We live with this every single day. People cannot get what they want because they just live in a poverty or scarcity mindset. There's just not enough out there. If you don't believe me, think of the generations and generations of families and the cultures upon cultures that stay stagnant. They live in fear. They live in doubt. They live in scarcity. They live in shame. They live in guilt. And when I think about dentistry, I look at dentistry in all of us. And there's dentists out there that I coach that truly live in this pit of poverty mindset, this scarcity mindset that stems from eons ago, way back in the Bible. You were told in dental school that, we're told that throughout our whole life you can't have money, or there's just not enough patients out there. I mean, I hear it every single day when I coach my dental clients. It's a mindset. It's a scarcity mindset. So what ends up happening to the dentist? That dentist that always has that pit to poverty mindset, right? What ends up happening? They start to disconnect. They disconnect from God. They disconnect from their spouse. They disconnect from their children. They disconnect from their employees or their staff. They disconnect from their patients. They totally disconnect from what their overall purpose was and why they became a dentist in the first place. And then what ends up happening over time? You become desensitized. You become almost numb, and you just kind of exist as a robot. You become numb to what it is you're called to do. You become numb to emotion. You feel no pain. You feel no good. Why is that? Because you're trying to disconnect from everything and desensitize yourself as a barrier, as a shield, if you will, so that nothing impacts your life. So that you can keep living the facade and desensitize from the reality. We end up putting a pretend armor on of who we really are. Even though back down we're that Adam and Eve type guy living in shame, guilt, fear, doubt, in that pit of poverty that will never get to what we want to get to. And after the disconnection, the desensitization, here comes the devaluation. It's almost as if this is how the anxiety in people's life works. We stop moving, we become desensitized, we become numb. Not only God, we stop searching God. We stop working out in our body. We stop showing up for our family. We stop even showing up in business because we don't feel like we're worth it. We feel like everything else is, whatever we have is just a dream and it will never be us. We're not good enough. And you hear this with people, not only just in dentistry, but every single day we hear that people just aren't good enough. Oh, that couldn't happen to me. You don't know my family. You don't know my upbringing. You don't know this. This is one of the greatest reasons why I wrote the book, Destiny's Not Hereditary. We devalue what we do. We devalue ourselves to the point where we just stop moving. Why? Because it's safer to be comfortable. We refuse to go through the pain in that resistance to be the best version of ourselves. It's easier just to say no. It's easier to say, oh, I just can't do that and not even try. Why? Because of the fear of failure. We have this fear that we might fail. And so we'd rather not try at all. So we divorce from everything. We just divorce ourselves from reality. We divorce ourselves from our spouse. That might be the worst. We divorce ourselves from our friends. We disconnect or divorce ourselves from the whole situation. And we pretend it's not even there. Because it can't be our fault. It must be somebody else's fault. Which ultimately leads to the last place, which is awful. It's the place of destruction. The place where we lose every single thing in the world that you can even think of losing. The place where we destroy every single thing that we might believe in. The place that we destroy our relationship with God. The place that we destroy our relationship in our body. The place that we destroy our relationship in our family house, and we even destroy our business. We stop taking care of our body and fighting. We stop doing the things we need to do and working out, feeding our nutrition, because we sedate ourselves in all this numbness and desensitization and devaluation of who we are as people. And it all stems from the Bible. It all stems from a while back of why we do what we do. It all stems back from that Genesis chapter 1 when God created the world and Eve bit the apple. And from that moment on, we lived in shame, guilt, doubt, and fear. The disconnection leads to desensitization, to devaluation, to divorce, to finally destruction. And when we talk about living a warrior's way, or when we talk about living the dentistry way, or we talk about rising up, it's about getting out of the pit of poverty mindset. It is about facing the darkness that God can pull you to the light. It's about embracing it and going through that resistance so that you can ultimately become the best version of yourself that you were meant and called to become. But most people don't do that. That's why most people don't win the game of life. You must go through the resistance and feel that struggle and feel that pain to become ultimately the best version of yourself. And those that can do that will. Living the pit of poverty mindset is wrong. It's never going to get you where you want to be. I'm okay with going through a pit, going through the darkness so that you can ultimately see the light. And if you work on it in your body, if you work on it, create the habits in your being with your family life, and you go through the pain and struggles in your family and your relationship with God and relationship with business, you will come to the other end. That is the only way you get true abundance. It's just part of our DNA. It's the polarity that Adam and Eve created a long time ago. So this concludes chapter 1 of the pit of poverty and what it really means. You want abundance, you got to go through the pain. You got to fight the resistance. Focus yourselves.